You filed a flight plan to Mountain Rescue. If we don't report in, they'll come looking for us.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work, except I put in a flight plan for Borum Caverns, and this isn't Borum Caverns, is it, Juno?
We're in the wrong fucking cave.
Holly was right. Borum Caverns was a tourist trap. Don't try and pin this fucking shite on me.
This is not caving, this is an ego trip.
Come on, Rebecca, I didn't know this was gonna happen. This is exactly what we believe in. We've always said if there's no risk, what's the point?
Oh, don't try and justify this. Where are we?
It hasn't got a name. It's a new system. I wanted us all to discover it. No one's ever been down here before.
Fucking kidding me. Oh, God.
Hello, welcome to Cheap Scares, the horror movie podcast that's always said, if there's no risk, what's the point? I'm David Schneider.
And I'm Sibyl Arnett, possibly a hallucination.
So for this episode, we watched The Descent, a British horror film from 2005 to 2006, depending on where you live in the world. It's pretty good. Right, so what are we watching next week?
Well, I can't spoil it now if you like.
No, it's fine. Yeah, this is fairly well known. It's sort of like if you asked a random person on the street, have you heard of The Descent? There's probably like maybe like a 20% chance they know it, but people who are all in on horror stuff, it's pretty well remembered, I would say.
Is this where I confess I actually found myself bored in this?
No, that's completely fair. This is like 4 different movies just smashed against each other. And some of them are definitely better than others.
The last third worked for me, but you can split it each act up based on the lead's head trauma.
Yeah. I mean, it's, people hang out. That's the first movie. They get together and hang out. Honestly, like the parts where they were crawling through extremely tight caves and tunnels and stuff, that part made me more legitimately uncomfortable than like anything we've watched on this so far.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I'm not that claustrophobic, but like 2 seconds into that, I'm like, nope. Call the helicopter. I'm out. Then it is a monster movie where people run around and get attacked by monsters. And then it's like this one-woman action film.
I'm sorry, I believe it is The Making of a Tomb Raider.
Yes, I did know initially when I played the Tomb Raider reboot from 2013. I knew, I had heard that it picked up some things from The Descent. I did not know it pulled entire scenes and locations, just besides cave.
Yeah, the Pool of Blood was a thing.
The Pool of Blood, everybody loves that Pool of Blood.
Yay, Pool of Blood! Yay, they're throwing a parade for Pool of Blood.
So yeah, it's a fairly low budget thing. They let me see. It looks like Wikipedia is saying £3.5 million for the budget, which is pretty lean for something like this.
I feel a lot of that's got to be makeup.
Probably. The cast was largely unknowns at the time. Most of them, like I believe they're all more or less still acting. The only one you'd be really likely to recognize is Miana Buring, maybe. It's a Swedish name. She had a significant role on Downton Abbey for one season. She is on the new Witcher television series.
Should I watch that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But the thing that the two of us specifically would remember that we have encountered her in is also The Witcher. In The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, she was the English voice for Anna Henrietta.
Hell yes.
Who we hated, but she was a very interesting character and very well performed.
Yeah, I don't think the reasons we disliked her had anything to do with performance.
No, not at all. Anyway, that's just a side note that I thought was interesting.
That is interesting, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, she's definitely the one who has had the most career since this film.
At least for us worldwide plebeians.
And so there is a movie that I suppose we should talk about. We begin with some extreme sports. There's, I guess technically most of the movie is extreme sports. There are 3 women whitewater rafting, which we later learn their names are Sarah, Beth, Juno. The main cast is 6 women who go down into the cave later. There's definitely a goal here to make them, more realistic than you would necessarily see in most horror movies. Like if you're watching a monster movie, you might expect them to be like more archetypical. And so they're like more normal human beings than that. Like everybody's got a little bit of something, but it's not like the Prey, which we saw before, where everybody clearly fits a slot.
I feel like this opening bit was definitely bit heavily from by one Quentin Tarantino for Death Proof.
Sure.
Lot of the same energy.
That is the movie that I saw so drunk, I only remember that I saw it.
That is the movie I walked out of when I went to see Grindhouse, because 2 hours in, I was not putting up with this anymore.
You know what? That's fair. So I guess the main issue with that is the vast majority of this movie takes place in heavy darkness. Like mostly lit by their flashlights and flares and whatnot. And so it all blurs together really badly. Especially once they start kind of yelling at each other.
I can only remember 4 names.
The ones here, as I said, Sarah, Beth, and Juno.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was Beth. I didn't go back and check, actually.
Yes.
They are the best of friends of this group, and several others will come later. So these 3 are whitewater rafting. They're going down a rapid, and that's kind of it. We watch them do that. They're having a great time.
Yeah, cool rapids.
There's a man and a small child observing, and it turns out that is the family of Sarah, our main character. Once they reach the end of the ride, I guess, they get out and they playfully push Juno off of the raft, and it's like, haha, you're all wet now. And she's just like, haha, I sure am. She gets out of the water, and the man goes over and, just goes over and takes care of her, like maybe a little bit too much. And the other 2 women just sort of stand there and stare at it. We're left to figure what the hell that means for most of the movie.
The acting in this very first bit, the cold open, is horrendous. And I
don't know if I'd go that far.
I kind of think it's intentional, just because hearing Paul speak when we're following the Sarah Jessica Paul car is where it's like, wow, I sound so wooden. And then all of a sudden the jump scare really gets me because of that.
I see. So yeah, he's lost in thought as he's driving, and suddenly he drifts into the other lane at the worst possible time. He crashes into another car, and I guess it's got some unsecured metal pipes on top of it. And they go flying straight into him, and he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't see what happens to the little girl in the back seat, but she didn't make it either.
We only had enough effects for man-sized wounds. The girl had to die off screen.
Also, they probably just didn't want to show that.
I'm just saying, you make your budget count.
Sure. Sarah wakes up in the hospital, takes about 2 seconds to figure out where she is, what's going on, and then just immediately unplugs herself from the IVs and everything, just rips it all out, and just goes running out into the hallway.
She's in Silent Hill for about 10 seconds here?
Yeah, this is pretty weird. The lights start going out one by one in the hallway, and she just starts running away from that, screaming, and then she's just back in the real world and with her rafting buddies and the descent. She starts sobbing because her family is gone. The descent. The title just pops up.
And 1 year later, we resume in the Appalachians. And they actually punctuate this with banjo underneath.
The Appalachians. They are listening to the radio, this disgusting American radio. All of the 6 main characters are European, by the way. And they do not like this American radio that they are hearing. It is either country music or Jesus music, and so they just turn it right off.
Turn that shite off.
Yes, that shite. Sarah is doing her 1,000-yard stare. She's just like that now. And Beth is driving, and she's saying like, we don't have to do this. We could get wasted, go to a barn dance.
Yeah.
Which what? Yeah, I guess Juno kind of ran away after the accident, and that's kind of a thing, and she's feeling guilty about it. And so she invited these 2 and 3 other friends from wherever they live, Scotland, I guess.
The United Kingdom.
Yes, to come and check out a cool cave.
Do we have any thoughts on any of the women? I think Juno looks like an older iCarly. Holly's the punk girl. That's about all I can keep track of.
Beth is like very slightly older than the rest. They seem to be implying that she's like the one in her 30s, but she looks like maybe a year older than most of them. So they're driving to a cabin. Inside the cabin, we also find the 2 sisters, the Swedish sisters, Becca and Sam. They have a hell of an accent.
Oh yeah.
Sam is the younger one, and she is in the last year of her doctorate. She's going to be a medical doctor, which turns out they are going to need that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, then after they playfully talk about how Beth is like going downhill after 25. I don't know. They all look older than that, but it's not. Again, it's not as bad as the Prey situation.
Oh, you mean we're not Riverdale-ing this?
No. Even Riverdale people look younger than that. Holly, the last of the 6, pops out of a bedroom, and she is, as you said, the punk. She's got short, spiky hair, and she is ready to go. She is the most extreme of sports. They call her a mentalist, which I don't think that's the right word.
Yeah, my familiarity with that term is definitely something incredibly different to what Holly shows herself as.
I guess that also might just be a regional thing.
Maybe.
Anyway, they all hang out for a long time, drinking. Their party, a very low key party, really. Notable is when Beth comes out in her floral print pajamas, and everybody thinks this is just unbelievably funny.
This is where the film lost me for a bit, because clearly I'm supposed to be thinking, gals being pals, we're just having a go of it. And I'm thinking is, I know nothing about you, and none of this is giving me anything to dig into.
Yeah, nothing at all. They are palling around a little too much. And maybe they need a little more exposition, I think. You know, they wouldn't be sitting there saying like, "Hello, my name is Sarah. I lost my husband and daughter in an accident last year." Like, so I guess it is more realistic that way, but also we are not one of these 6 great friends. So it just kind of blurs together, really.
Yeah, it feels like if you meet a buddy who you haven't seen in a while, and he's brought some of his friends, and they all have these in-jokes, and you're just like, yeah, that's this whole scene.
Oh, a sports fuck, huh? Yeah, cool.
Sure.
Yeah, that is what
drink.
That is what Holly describes herself as. She is not currently attached while they are discussing significant others. She's a sports fuck right now, but she does want a lot of babies eventually. I guess, sure. Anyway, this is just kind of nothing. There's nothing to talk about here. You like it or you don't, really. But later that night, Sarah is wide awake. She can't sleep. So she gets up and just sort of wanders over and stares out the window. And then a pipe just comes right through into her eyeball. And then she wakes up for real.
And that one did get me. That was an actual good move.
That was a weird jump scare.
I thought this film was going to be a lot more about PTSD and trauma and doubting the reality, and they kind of leave all those things behind, despite hinting heavily at it.
Yeah, it comes up like a little bit every now and then, but ultimately doesn't really do much to inform the plot or the events or anything, really. It's just any time that it comes up, it's just like kind of a weird little horror thing, like somebody jumps down from elsewhere, and it's a jump scare. It's a fun prank to pull on your incredibly PTSD-ridden friend.
Yeah, no one in this group seems to know what appropriate jokes are.
So after a full night of drinking, they all wake up early. Juno wakes them up early. It's incredibly obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get themselves together, and then they take a group photo.
Which you can already tell looking at it and knowing what genre we're in, this is definitely a last known photo.
Yeah, not even remotely subtle about it. As soon as they take it, the sinister music starts playing.
Not a joke. I was thinking, oh, this is going to be... That's even more on the nose.
And then they're off. They've got 2 cars, SUVs, I guess. They're flying down a dirt road. Sarah's trying the daredevil response to grief, seeing how that tastes.
All of her driving terrifies me.
It's bad. It's really bad, and it would be bad on like regular pavement roads, but dirt roads in the middle of the woods, it looks like they could crash at any second, really.
And depending on where they live in the UK, they might have roads akin to this. So
True.
You can't even say inexperience on this sort of terrain.
No, she's like I said, she's just trying this out for a spin. She's like, okay, well, what if I drive like I'm gonna die? How does that feel? I guess it doesn't feel that good because it doesn't go anywhere.
Nope.
In one of the cars, Sam the doctor, she has a really hideous orange watch that she's trying to set, and she just sort of pokes at it for later. She's like, I don't know how to do anything with this thing. And then it never comes up again for like 50 minutes.
It's from my boyfriend.
Yep. They continue along this road for a while. Again, just sort of like establishing that they are very, very, very far away from everything, mostly.
Probably like an hour's drive to a hospital, maybe.
Yeah. But they finally get there. They find the caves, the Boreham Caverns, which Holly thinks is for stupid little babies.
And so does Juno. Bum bum bum.
She calls them more like a boredom caves. They're apparently supposed to be level 2 caves, which immediately proves untrue. Because they have to rappel down 50 feet because it's just a hole in the ground.
Was it just me, or is the shot while they go down really bad green screen?
Yeah, no, that was... there's... The green screening in this is not great. Again, low budget. The actual, like, cave walls and stuff that they built and, like, those shots are good. Those are totally well done. It's just anytime they have to cut to a wide shot, it does kind of show the cracks a little bit.
This drop is the only time that I found myself going, ugh, because you can almost see one of them with aliasing jaggies around her as she comes at the screen.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to be looking that closely, but it's right there. As they go down, it is a wide shot of the entire group, and one of them, God only knows which one, says, "I'm an English teacher, not fucking Tomb Raider."
Yeah. Do you think that line is what caused that to stick in some designer's head for a decade?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, Tomb Raider is a very well-known property in England. It's like, or in Britain. It's one of the really, really, like, big global video game phenomenons.
It's true. They thought that Dizzy was going to be their major export on the global stage, but no, it had to be Lara Croft with her own eggs.
I can't believe Croc 2 didn't do it. I don't actually know if Croc 2 is... I don't know what country the Croc games came from.
The Croc games are British, and I like Croc 2. I wish it was a finished game.
Yeah, no, it's... I'm just gonna disagree. I think they're terrible.
I said I like Croc 2.
I guess that's fair. But yeah, it's like Tomb Raider and GTA, and that's about it, really.
Right, yeah, I always forget that Rockstar and DMA started as a British thing because of the fact that they have a local studio, so it's just like, oh yeah, Rockstar, that multinational group of assholes.
Wow, what a descent. Speaking of descending...
Yep.
Trying to find an escape. Hey, there we go. Trying to escape. So yeah, they all go down one by one, or 1 to 2 at a time. Holly decides to just basically just fall the entire way because she's way too edgy to follow safety. Ugh.
Oi, not worth nothing if you don't get 5 scars and a broken bone. Not actual dialogue, but basically her entire ethos.
Yeah, I would say she got all of that pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a camcorder. This is okay. So my theory on the descent, I could never find any like actual proof that of whether this is true or not. I feel like this movie started development as a found footage film, and then got retooled once somebody decided that that might not be profitable, because this was in that sort of period between Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, where like there was that one and it was a huge hit, and we don't know if it's a fluke or not. I could really see that just sort of being like, you know what, let's just zoom out a little bit, let's just make this a more regular movie. Because some of the things they do with the camera, especially later on, really, really feel like one of those.
I could see that, and a retooling would explain a lot about a couple things in the script that go nowhere, as well as the very final act is when we just finally start using the infrared cameras heavily.
Yeah, it's like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, if they did all the effects work on those and then redid everything around it, that would make some sense.
Yeah. Obviously, Paranormal Activity came out, and also Wreck and also Cloverfield all at the same time, and they all made a ton of money. So, you know, this is officially a thing now, but it wasn't quite there yet when this came out. So that's my theory. I'm sticking to it.
I do like that idea, and it does explain the very, very jarring sudden switch to the cameras at the very end.
So yeah, the camcorder is now in play, and Sarah is just sort of examining the entrance hall, the cave foyer, I guess. She notices like it looks like bloody finger marks embedded into the rock. She's just like, huh, weird, and just moves along.
There was one other subtle warning sign we didn't mention before this. Their long walk in was past a pretty brutalized deer.
Oh, yes, it was super dead.
Yeah.
And
nobody really comments on it. It's just like,
well,
oh, I guess animals just explode here in the US.
Yeah, half of them just go up to investigate. Really, they're like really excited about it, but they move on.
There's not a lot of dialogue here. It's just shots of walking through a cavern. I don't want to jump ahead to where the inciting incident is, but we kind of don't have much.
We have the time Sarah accidentally activated the bat trap. She
right,
gets near
yes.
a crack in the wall, and turns out it's got hundreds of CGI bats in it.
That did actually make me giggle, just because
there's so
nobody
many
really
of them.
comments on it. It's like, oh, that happened.
Holly starts going 1, 2, and is
Yes,
basically
yes,
told
the
to
count
fuck
joke.
off.
That's the only commentary.
They basically tell her to fuck off.
I did laugh, though.
But there's only one way out of this chamber, and that's down the pipe.
Yeah. That's, we start descending bit by bit. Okay. And we're going to go down, and well, we have a problem because Sarah has gotten stuck trying to follow the rest of them.
This is like several minutes of very, very tight shots in not enough corridor. Like they have to like swim underwater at one point, and it's like barely as wide as they are.
And it's, only a level 2 cavern is probably where
I think it's a little above level 2.
I guess the question is, when does the thing we find out 2 minutes from now come into play? How far back were they misled?
I mean, basically from the beginning. They do keep saying that the caverns that they are supposed to be going to are just like a tourist trap for babies and the elderly, basically. So
Wine moms.
yes, wine moms and wine moms to be, wine future moms, wine moms in training.
Wine mom. Mom wine.
Just leave them in a room together and just let the magic happen.
Anyhow, through a series of about 3 events, we discover that Juno has possibly just gotten them all killed.
Yes. So you mentioned Sarah gets stuck, and so she immediately starts panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And Beth is just ahead, and she's like fairly reasonably, I think, trying to tell her to just breathe and just calm down. You can breathe. You can do this. Just relax, and then it will be much easier to get free.
If my big Polnareff self could get through this, you can get through this too, Sarah. Come on. I'll pull you.
Finally, what actually works to calm her down is a joke. How do you give a lemon an orgasm? You tickle its citrus.
Which, I've heard worse.
Anyway, she gets loose, but before she is able to turn back and grab the bag of ropes that she had to drop in order to make it through, the cave just started shaking.
Yup.
Let's go, actually. Fuck the rope bag.
Yeah, very tight space with a cave in. Yeah, I can understand that. So, Sarah's KO'd here for the first time, right?
I think so.
Because we have the cake flashback.
Yeah, there's a couple shots of she hears some child laughing in the distance, but I think this is the first time we see the cake since the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, when she was out and after the crash.
Yeah, apparently she dreams of her daughter being spooky near a cake.
It is the most ominous birthday cake you have ever seen because it is filmed in pitch black.
Yeah, this movie does have a very good sense of light and dark. It does get kind of hard to see. I feel like this would be a really good candidate for HDR.
I just felt around the end of it that I probably should have watched it in a dark room, or a theater would have given me some bonus points.
Yeah, I was watching in the dark, so.
Also, when they get down to the flares, it feels like I'm playing a Virtual Boy.
Yeah, the flares do get a bit much. So yeah, like I said earlier, everything is more or less lit, more or less realistically. The light sources are at least generally suggested to be the things that they brought with them. It does cheat a bit with the flares, or the glow sticks especially, to turn a lot of stuff green around them.
Which is weird because it's only a brief segment, and I kind of feel like it's just meant to give you any different color to look at for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's probably not wrong.
So Sarah comes to, and we've got, a few minutes have passed, whatever, everyone's reassembled. And this is where I forget who calls Juno out, but someone goes, "Yeah, this isn't the baby cave, is it, Juno?"
Yeah, I believe that was Rebecca. This is her first scene actually doing anything. She is the older Swedish sister.
Yeah. So it turns out Juno might have, told the park rescue service that they were going to the baby cave, but they're just down in one that's unexplored and has no name.
Well, Juno told the group that they were going to the baby cave, and then the group told Park Rescue.
Yes.
And so,
yes,
that is how they got screwed. It is a new cave. I wanted us all to discover it. No one's ever been down here before. Don't ever do this.
No. Do
not ever surprise your friends with a new cave. This is the worst surprise.
Oh yeah. The whole room of the party at this point is, good job, Juno. You just got us all killed.
They are not happy about this.
And Sarah notices but does not comment on, oh, okay, there's cave paintings around here. So
yep. She also hears like a weird chittering noise. I don't know. Yep. Human mouth noises, pretty much.
And then there's another period of kind of dead air as we're trying to make our way through caverns.
Yep. Then we do, before too long, we do get to the next thing that made me extremely uncomfortable, which was the ravine scene.
Yeah.
Turns out they're going to need to climb along the ceiling in order to continue. And there is nothing to climb onto the ceiling with.
Yeah, they've got very few pieces of gear that came down because, the sack is on the other side of a cave-in.
Yep, and this is finally Becca's time to shine. She's got extremely good upper body strength. And so she starts hanging from the ceiling and sort of shuffling along with some hooks, and we get to see every single little goddamn second of it. And it's awful. I would die. I would 100% die.
This freaked me out less because I used to hit up a lot of rock climbing gyms, and once you get to a certain degree, they start having the ones where you do this vertically or upside down and back around, and it's like, oh yeah, God, this takes me back.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. If you are used to it, it is not as bad. She doesn't seem like she likes it very much. She's yelling as she does it.
The difference between me going to a rock climbing gym and her doing this above the ravine is one of us had safety gear and a counterweight.
One of them dropped a rock down the cave, and it's just like, wow, thanks. Now we know how deep it is. Good job.
Yup.
So she's setting up ropes and stuff for the other less cool climbers. And she notices another hook that's already in the ceiling. What's this all about?
Ancient pitons, over 100 years old based on their estimation of what's involved.
Mm-hmm.
But this actually kills the mood even further, because if someone had been here and made it out, the cave would have a name already, and I can't fault that logic.
It's completely the dots connect.
Yeah.
So once the ropes are set up, they all go across one by one. Juno decides it's her turn to be cool, which is a mistake. She's like, well, we already lost one rope bag. We're gonna need more supply. We're gonna need all the supplies that we already have. So I'm gonna collect everything on my way back. She does, of course, lose her balance, and she drops. And they do save her with the rope, but they have to. One of them has to grab it with her hands. Has to grab the rope with her hands, which the other end of the rope is a falling human being, and so it slices it right open.
Yep. That is Sam. I only know that because of later when her hands are wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
I remember some of these characters based on how they die, so yeah.
So at this point, they continue along and they notice some cave some more, I guess, more cave paintings, and Beth insists that they use a flare to light up the whole thing so they can see it. And hey, what's this on the picture? It's 2 cave entrances. And so hope is
Yay!
restored for about 5 minutes. Except
It's probably closer to 2 because that's when things growl.
yep, there's a thing nearby. It opens its mouth and some slime comes out, and this is the halfway point of the movie. And we have seen the monster.
Not in clear light yet, though. They do hide that for a bit.
Yeah, no, it's lit from the other side. Holly decides she's sick of this shit, and she just starts booking it through the caves. She's like diving head first into tunnels.
Yeah.
And oh, big surprise, she's not careful and she falls into a hole and destroys her leg.
Oh, yeah. And it's, again, I made the joke about we only had so much effect for wounds. This is one of those times they spent the money with the bone sticking out.
Yep. We see the bone. We see it getting pushed back in.
Because you
our
have
doctor.
to splint it.
Yeah. I mean, I sure. I'm not a doctor. It sounds plausible to me.
I'm half a doctor. That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's a really, really uncomfortable triage scene, basically.
Yeah. But at this point, we're finally in the movie.
Yes, Sarah wanders off because she hears something else again. She's real good at wandering off. And, oh, hey, what's this person over here? Some strange naked cave person.
And a conquistador helmet.
Yep, and yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't recall the helmet. I mean, I recall. I noted the helmet. I don't recall it ever coming up again.
Oh, it doesn't. It's just like, it's basically the only thing that really gives a time period on when these last explorers were here.
Sure. Yeah. So Sarah, once the surgery's done, once the bone's pushed all the way back in and the screaming's done, Sarah is just like, well, hey, there's people here. Maybe they can help. These strange cave nudists.
That seems like it should be a Holly line because she would just be like, "Oi, let me get a piece of that."
Yeah, and so they continue along. The wound, the leg wound is splinted enough that they can at least move her.
Yeah.
And so places happen, some more caves, and then they find themselves in a whole bunch. It's just like a big old giant mess of animal bones.
And someone steps in something wrong, and we've split the party as Sarah falls in a hole.
Well, first they've got to all fight a monster.
I thought she fell before it came out.
Let me see. I'm trying to find where this happened. No, they see the monster and they start fighting and kind of scatter.
Mm-hmm. And that's
and so after that is where this happens. It is much faster than they are and can climb along all the walls and the ceiling. It's really, I don't know. The monsters are really, I feel like they should have made it more monstrous than they did. It just kind of looks like people. like when they're running around and clawing people, it's pretty effective. But when they like reach their faces into the shot to snarl or like start biting people in the stomach, it doesn't really look right. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've seen a lot of the American Horror Story posters use this sort of eyeless woman as kind of an unofficial mascot, that's basically what these things look like, except with a lot of hunching.
So yeah, after we've spent 5 minutes watching horrible leg agony, Holly just eats shit pretty much immediately.
Holly gets murked.
The monster just vaults over her and then turns around and just bites her right on the neck and rips off the neck flesh that she needs, and she's done. 1 down, 5 to go.
So Juno is making an attempt. Juno is swinging at it, and she's fighting to keep Holly's body, and she doesn't succeed, and she just starts getting more and more panicked. And she's swinging a pickaxe, and she does take it out, but she doesn't stop swinging. And when Beth tries to get her reined in, that's when she gets got.
Yep. Yeah, she whirls around with the climbing axe, which is, again, exactly the axe they used in Tomb Raider. She whirls around and just embeds directly into Beth's neck. Just all the way through. And, you know, she's at this point, Juno's just like, oh fuck, and she just kind of leaves. Beth is still alive somehow. She stays alive for like a really long time, I think, for the wound that we saw.
I would say probably 15 to 30 minutes given the events of the film, which, yeah. Probably too long.
Yeah. She is left behind to die. And I get it, it's a surprise that she is still alive later, like a fun, pleasant surprise.
Somewhere in here, Sarah has another birthday cake dream and wakes up with a jump scare.
Mm-hmm. And
but
this is where the camcorder stuff starts really going into overdrive.
She's the only one for a while.
She doesn't have a light. Because they do not know, they haven't figured out yet that the monsters entirely hunt by sound.
I think that's the exact next scene with Sam and Rebecca.
Yeah. They sort of figure it out individually in different scenes because they have split up.
Sam and Rebecca are the ones who say it out loud.
Yes.
Audience, have you not figured it out?
She wakes up, she is on a pile of mostly human bones, and like there's a fully intact wolf head to get you, I guess.
It does look pretty good. Their bone work is excellent through this film.
Yeah. She is using the camcorder, the night vision mode to see anything, and she just kind of pulls herself up into a corner and waits for a while they chow down on Holly's body. I say there's a bunch of them, it turns out. I don't think we mentioned that. There's a bunch of the monsters.
Yeah. At a certain point, around the second or third Battle Royale melee, is when I started going, how are there so many of them? They can't be hunting enough meat to sustain this colony.
Yeah, it is, they discuss it later, and the conclusion that the characters come up with is that the monsters know of an exit, and they go out and hunt for animals and drag them back in. But it seems like
a lot.
Too many, especially the way that they eat.
We see something between 24 and 50, depending on the body count. I don't know how many of them are returning or getting away, but there's multiple scenes that just involve people going hog wild on the actors in the crawler suits, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a lot of bodies.
Let's see what this is where things ramp up. So there's a lot of a lot of clashing scenes bumped up against each other, and they're all in various cave places. So it's a little hard to keep up. So yeah, the two sisters, they're still going. They hide up into a hole for a while, just kind of hope for the best. This is where they figure out that being quiet is the way to go. I guess the monsters can't smell, because it just crawls like right up on them and doesn't figure it out. But
incredibly cold move as Sam and Rebecca hear Juno screaming, and they're like, well, if they go to her, not us.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take it.
And then Sam's watch goes off, because I guess she set it for whatever the hell time it is. She has to hurl it away.
Yeah, she set it for worst o'clock. It's such a weird setup, because that is the other time that I mentioned is the only time until this watch is brought up at all.
And I thought so many more things from that opening car ride and the hanging out were going to come into play, but
not
they
really.
kind of just stop.
Not really. It is, you don't, in real life, everything that you discuss with your friends, shortly before a terrible thing happens to you, they don't always come back in real life. This is a movie, though, so.
Yeah. They lay a lot of groundwork. It's mostly just irritating, because the comment about, PTSD sufferers, and comments about low oxygen or gases or whatever in the cave. You might hallucinate. You might do whatever. Everyone's treating Sarah as crazy, but nothing ever comes to that.
Oh yeah, another thing I meant to bring up. Like at some, I don't know where it is in the movie, but at some point, Juno says they're probably 2 miles deep. Would they not get the bends? Is that just not a thing if you're not underwater?
I'm going to check, because that's a legit question.
Because I feel like 2 miles underground is enough that this could go extremely wrong. But also maybe if you're not already in a pressurized environment, maybe that's not as much of a deal.
Can happen. Seems like it's a less likely thing with caves, just because you can't really ascend at the speed that would cause nitrogen bubbles.
Okay. Yeah, no, that tracks.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I saw mention of it with cave diving. You have the same thing, but yeah, with caverns, you can go down to where the nitrogen pressure changes, but it's very hard to ascend at the speed that would cause that.
All right. Well, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Juno rejoins Sam and Rebecca after everyone flails around by wandering back in, just pickaxes one of these things in the neck, and then snaps its neck.
Yep,
wow, where did you learn to do that, Juno?
She's trying to be action movie woman, but she gets quickly supplanted.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sarah, she's... it's hard to see what's happening. I think it was a bone that she used, and she ripped off a bunch of cloth and made a torch.
Yeah, she's got the only source of fire for the rest of the movie, which comes into play less than you'd think.
Yeah, well, the monsters don't see. Presumably they would feel heat, but we'll just ignore that.
I did wonder, would they have an issue with that? Do they have some sort of, I kept thinking of more questions about these critters the longer it went on.
Yeah, it's not good to question this movie too much, I think.
That's what happens when you give me too much downtime in Virtual Boy vision, though.
That's true. Yeah, when the torch goes off, this is where the movie gets really, really red. There's a field of bones and gore just everywhere, which, again, Tomb Raider just took this just wholesale. It turns out
before the Lake of Blood, we get 2 scenes back to back.
Yes.
And, Juno has just showed up with Sam and Rebecca, and she says, "Oh yeah, Beth's dead." Sarah then stumbles into a very alive Beth, who tells her, "Yeah, Juno got me."
She's still alive. She can still talk.
Yeah. I
think they overdid it on the neck wound.
I think they needed to aim it for, collarbone or something. Because, she's just shy of having had her throat torn out by that axe. I don't know. But, no, she's like, no, Juno left me here, and she hands over a pendant that she, ripped off of Juno trying to calm her down, and it's like, oh, this was Paul's pendant. Juno was fucking my husband.
Yep.
Cool.
Don't trust her.
Mm-hmm. And Beth's like, so this is not getting any better. Can you, do something about me existing?
Yeah, can you... Don't leave me here. Finish it. Finish her. So, Sarah... this seems like a bad way to do it. She finds a really big rock and just squashes Beth's face with it. We don't really see that. But just one swig, blah. Which, I don't know, that seems like there's a really, really strong chance she would just still be alive with a crushed face. Which is not what she wants in this. That is not her last wish.
They don't show it cleanly, so I just presume she caves in her skull.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, and then all of the noise and the sobbing lures a crawler over to instantly ruin the moment.
Yep, and so she falls in the blood pool, which is nearby.
Yeah.
And
this is a lake.
Yeah. It's maybe a pond. Blood pond.
Okay. On Bloody Pond.
So she falls in. She stays under there for a while. And then there's the shot. The shot that people know this movie for. Just very quietly. Just her head just emerges from the water up to just below her nose, and she looks around. Because as soon as Beth died, we started the 4th movie, which is one-woman action film.
And from here on out, this is pretty good. This final act is really good.
I liked this more than the previous part with them running around panicked from the monsters. Partly because they were trying so hard to make the monsters scary, and I just don't any time it lingered on them. I just don't think they were.
The part that makes this work for me is that we start picking the trio off one by one, but each of those is a really good scene. And Sarah's just kind of out of things for a bit. You forget about her after the blood until she reemerges.
Again, before that is she plays a bit of cat and mouse with one of the monsters. And she crawls out of the blood pond onto a rock and then just stays there completely still while one of the monsters just crawls on her. And she's just like, yep, this is happening. I'm just gonna ride this out.
This is my life this week.
And then we go with the rest of them for a bit. Because we have several characters we need to kill.
So, Sam, she of the wounded hands, decides that she's gonna try and use some of this gear and just make a path for the others. She's climbing up, and she's putting spikes in, and they're both screaming, "No, you don't have enough rope! Sam, no!
Stop!"
And she's on the ceiling. She's doing pretty well, even if she doesn't have enough rope. And this is the point when a crawler very visibly confirms, yeah, no, these things can just go on the ceiling, because it just goes over, and Sam is trying to move slowly. She's getting a knife in her teeth because she's trying to hold herself up, and it just rips out her throat. No chance to defend.
Yeah, she does stab it in the process, though, so that's something.
And now her body is just hanging there in midair.
Yep, and I believe it's just gonna stay there.
It does,
presumably until the sequel.
Did you look up the description of what happens in that one?
I did not read the full plot summary. I still haven't decided if I'm gonna try to watch it or not. It seems like a mistake.
It definitely looked like one, because I did read a summary and a review. I will confirm Sam's body definitely stays up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, Rebecca gets picked off by another one of these, and once again, Juno's looking out for number one, except she runs around a corner into Sarah.
Yes, we follow Juno for a while as she there's water under this particular ceiling climb, and she jumps off, and there's some fights, and she goes around. It's difficult to describe specifics. It's fights.
Yeah,
and
there's just so many action scenes of battling little packs of these things. Again, this is why I was like, how are there so many?
And yeah, she runs into Sarah, who is now feral. Her hair is wild. She is covered in blood. She's just the distant stare has just become a firm glare.
Sarah doesn't go full Rambo until she asks Juno, "Hey, you saw Beth die? Oh yeah, it was terrible." And that's when she just has this face.
She's just calculating, okay, we're doing this now.
But the battle royale begins, because apparently saying a few words to each other was enough to lure every one of these things around.
Also, by the way, there is an explanation for why they are on a beeline for the actual exit, which is the previous the century-old cave explorers did leave arrows showing the directions that they went. They left markings, which
by this point they have a path to follow to the surface,
which we really should have done, I think.
But we're just getting two-girl action fight, 2005.
Hell yeah.
And then it just abruptly stops. It's like, oh, I guess we ran out.
Yep. There's no more here. We're good. Or are we?
Because Sarah is just holding that pickaxe in her hand out.
And Juno's
we
just
slowly pan down.
Juno's looking at her like, oh shit.
Because at the bottom of it, the pendant that Beth had, Paul's pendant, is very visible. And Sarah just shoves that axe right into Juno's leg.
Yep.
And walks off as her screams attract the creepers.
Yep, this is the biggest shot we get of all of them. This is probably at least 24 of them just in the shot. And they're just, they descend upon her, and we don't see what happens.
Yep.
But Sarah's found another bone pit.
No, this is a bone staircase.
Yes, sorry, a hill of bones in this crazy world.
And I do like the long shot. We don't do a lot of long shots of single characters, so she's just climbing up a metal album cover of spines and skulls and ribs. She gets out.
Yeah, she gets out, she runs, and once she gets a certain distance, she just starts screaming. Yeah. She finds the cars. If you thought she was driving recklessly before,
Holy
buckle
shit.
up like she did not.
Yeah. I don't know that I have seen someone outside of an action movie just straight up do jumps on a mountain road like this.
Yeah, no. First priority is get as far away from this as possible.
Mm-hmm.
She's just on pure adrenaline at this point.
And we're seeing her in daylight now, and she's still covered in blood.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these shots of her behind the wheel are like another movie that I'm not going to mention that we may do for this show at some point, but very reminiscent.
Sure. I don't know what you're referring to. So, yeah, she is going along. She finally, I guess, gets far enough that she is okay with pulling over, and she does, and she starts to freak out, and, well, we got at least another couple jump scares in us. So a log truck just blares right by.
I have this down as the truck from Final Destination 2 drives by and honks.
Yes, it's on the way to Final Destination 2. It'll get there soon.
And then, you know, the thing you do after you come out of this, you open your car window and just puke.
Yep, we just see it. We're just right there. Thanks.
Yep. And she tucks herself back in and boo! Jump scare Juno. We're done.
Oh, yep, she's in the passenger seat, and she's a scary ghost or something. I don't know. It was really quick. I didn't go back and double check. Movie's over. And the credits roll over the last known photo of the group of friends.
And this means you can tell which ending we both watched.
Yep. There was, I'll just read UK ending. Following the events of the US ending, Sarah awakens in the cave after hallucinating her escape. She sits up to see Jessica sitting across from her. Jessica is her daughter. I don't think we ever said that. Holding a birthday cake. As Sarah smiles, the shot widens to reveal that the cake's birthday candlelight, thank you, is actually the light of her torch. The camera slowly backs out as the crawlers are heard closing in on Sarah, revealing that she is still trapped in the cave.
And the sequel makes it very clear that this can't be it.
Yeah, I guess from what I can tell, the sequel is she makes it back to civilization with memory problems, and the cops don't believe that she went into a cave nobody's heard of and fought monsters with her friends who are now dead.
Yep.
And so it's I guess they have to take her there to prove it. It just sounds like a really, really big stretch for getting a whole bunch of people back into that same cave.
It sounds very flimsy, and while I like the description of a couple scenes, let's just say that there are bigger problems than some of the things we pointed out in this movie immediately.
Sure. So yeah,
I don't know.
The Descent.
I liked it less than you. I thought it had some good points, but overall, this is not a movie I would recommend to people.
Yeah, talking about my split into 4 movies. I liked the second one where they were crawling through the cave and everything's just getting worse. I thought that was really tense. I liked the dumb action shit at the end.
Yeah.
Just when they did just cut loose. The monsters just didn't work for me very well in the slower, spookier, the spooky-ish, or it's still kind of actiony. But the stalking section, let's say. Yeah.
The longer this movie let me sit with anything, the more I had problems.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like I think it wasn't scary is really just like one of the laziest criticisms you can put towards a horror movie. So I'm not gonna quite go there. I feel like I am if you are personally scared of a movie or not is not an indication of the quality of the movie. That is a significant percentage of that is just on you as a person and how you react to things. They just seemed so silly. When she's holding up the camcorder and just watching them eat, and one of them just sort of like crawls over towards her and just sticks its dumb face right into the camera and just starts going as you can just like see every little bit of it. It just doesn't fit with anything else in the movie, I think.
The one that took me out of it and made me laugh them off for 10 minutes it's the first shot you called out where they lean in and it's filmed very well. The light is behind it so you don't get a clear shot, but they just hold on one of them dripping something from its mouth, and it's clearly an homage to Alien because it's the same sticky sort of liquid. It's like, what is that? They don't do this any other time. Why did you do that?
They've got really dry mouths. There's not a lot of water down here. Yeah. The one dumb thing that happened was Sarah kills one of them in the bone pit. And then a female comes along. It's like the only good look we get at one of the female monsters. It's usually just the one guy crawling around. And it's like I'm not. I think it's fine. It's fine that they've got both sexes of these weird ass nude people monsters crawling around. I don't like that that's the only female one that we see. And it's just that to react badly to the death of the other one. That was kind of a weird thing. Like it was like her mate or something. Like like the monsters can't be upset that their monster friend also died. I don't know. If it was not just this one particular one in this one scene, it would have been fine.
Yeah. Speaking of things this is homaging intentionally or not, have you did you see the Will Smith I Am Legend?
I did not. No. I heard about it.
There's in one of the cuts there's a scene at the end where, just to add the only bit that ties back into the original novel, these feral critters all take one of their buddies who has died and they pull him away for what might be like a funeral or burial ceremony. It's like, oh my God, they're sentient.
Oh my God.
That's what they're doing here, but with way creepier critters.
Sure. Didn't they like not to get into a completely different movie, but didn't they have like a completely different ending? Like an alternate ending for it.
Yeah, that also had two endings.
Depending on like if you saw it on video or not.
Yeah.
And not like this one where it was just like an extension, but just completely
wildly
different.
divergent. Yeah, that movie makes me angry because the original story, which we got a pretty good adaptation of as the Omega Man, I love that story, and so that being the version of the film that they put on the screen with the name and butchering it so bad. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah. Do you got anything else about The Descent?
I don't.
I overall I liked it. I did definitely did significant flaws, and I had not considered just how much of this movie was just crawling around in caves when intending to talk about it on a podcast.
And we still got about our average length out of it, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, we figured it out. It took a little bit.
I don't think this is an avoid at all costs. It's just not a recommendation from me. There are highs. There's more lows to me.
Okay. I would say it's pretty good. I liked it.
2 out of 5 here.
I'll give it like 3.5.
Hmm.
Are we rating movies now? Should we do this?
I think we've bounced around just kind of giving a loose one, but I don't have a scale, so screw it.
I'll think of a scale.
Okay. If you think of a scale, I will gladly retrofit our stuff.
Okay. There we go. All right. So, now that we've actually talked about the movie, what are we going to do next time?
So, I've been playing a lot of this video game that came out, Shin Megami Tensei 5. And it started out based on a series of very bad Japanese pulp novels. If you haven't read them, it's pretty awful. But because our rule is that whatever we watch has to be something that's easily streaming accessible, I can't say, let's watch the bad anime OVA based on it.
Are you sure?
However,
are you sure it's not on like High Dive?
I did check. Trust me, I went down a chain to get to where we're going this next week.
Okay.
Because you see, I did find its non-union Western equivalent.
Oh no.
Which is, have you ever seen 1981's Evil Speak?
No. No, that's a hell of a title.
So, a fat kid in military school decides to use a computer on campus to summon the devil through a pact and get revenge on everyone here.
Okay.
And the student is Clint Howard.
Okay. Sure.
You're in for some time.
1981 movie about computers. That already tells me quite a bit. Like,
oh yeah.
When was War Games? 1983. I would assume War Games is more realistic.
Yes. Yeah. This movie is, if I didn't know better, I would say someone had heard about those novels and was trying to just do a numbers filed off adaptation, because there's more than a few similarities, so we're gonna have a time. This is on Shudder. You can rent it on Amazon Prime or YouTube. Yeah.
All right, boy. All of the screenshots look like something.
Oh yeah, we are gonna be in Camp Town, baby.
Okay.
A $1 million budget.
Nice. Yeah, we'll figure that out next time. So yeah, thank you for listening. cheapscarescast@gmail.com if you want to send an email. On Twitter, it is @cheapscares. Just everything is just one word. YouTube, I don't have a custom URL or anything, but just search Cheap Scares Podcast and follow. If there's more than one, find the one that's got the same logo as whatever you're listening to now. And yeah, just if you have something to say to us, just let us know, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.